What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Compared to the start of the fight, it was clear her power had grown. She was steadily adapting to their movements with increasing precision. Their feints were no longer effective, and they were starting to lose momentum in their attacks. Peliod's relentless strikes were beginning to find their mark on Datta, though they hadn't been entirely pushed back yet. Peliod had shifted from her previous simple assaults to more deadly, calculated blows.
It feels like cheating, doesn't it? To get stronger right in the middle of a fight?
It's not that uncommon. I've experienced it myself, so I guess it's fair that the enemy can too.
True, but it's a lot less fun when you're on the receiving end.
Even as they complained, both knew they had to buckle down and face the challenge head-on. Datta knew the score. They were the reinforcements, and no further help was coming. Rimuru, whom Datta admired and who always had his back, was also busy fighting elsewhere. This time, the enemy was so formidable that they couldn't rely on anyone else. If anyone might show up, it would be Benimaru. But Datta preferred that didn't happen since it would leave their homeland vulnerable. In short,
we're on our own here. We've got to handle this ourselves.
Right, if the enemy is tough, we just need to be even tougher.
So, in the end, they decided to trust their instincts. As a commander, that wasn't the best strategy, but for Datta, it was all the motivation he needed. The phrase, fight to the last breath, was apt for Datta, who usually had an escape plan in mind. This was a situation where retreat wasn't an option, and that only pushed him to fight harder.
From now on, it's all or nothing.
With renewed determination, he intensified his assault. But all their efforts came to nothing. They even tried a two-stage attack, luring Peliod in with Dance with Wolves while unleashing their special move, Apocalypse Howling. But even that didn't land.
Seriously? That was our secret weapon.
This realization made Datta feel the gravity of the situation. Ranga felt it too.
Datta, maybe we should pull back for now?
Ranga suggested, but Datta rejected the idea.
No way. If we retreat, Carrera-san will be left to handle everything.
Ranga saw the logic in that. Without reinforcements, retreating to regroup was an option, but it was a last resort. This wasn't a duel, it was a war, and retreating could demoralize the entire army. However, with their secret move failing, defeat seemed inevitable. Datta, who hated losing more than anything, wanted to avoid that outcome. Yet, he couldn't think of a solution, until something unexpected happened.
I'll lend you a hand, Datta.
Carrion, having defeated Insect General Abart, stepped in to help Datta, seeing that he was struggling. But that wasn't all.
I'll join too.
Even Frey, sensing the threat Peliod posed, rushed over to assist Datta. It wasn't exactly a fair fight, but this was war, not a duel. Winning was more important than honor, and Datta gladly accepted their help.
I'm saved.
He shouted with relief, and with that, the battle resumed. Or so they all believed.
How pitiful. So pitiful. My children, they are so weak.
The voice, though soft, reached everyone on the battlefield. And everyone understood that this marked the beginning of the final confrontation. Carrera was locked in a fierce battle with Zess, the head of the insect generals. While Zess was undeniably strong, he wasn't beyond Carrera's ability to defeat. He made for an excellent adversary, and Carrera found herself reveling in the fight. Carrera showcased her newly acquired technique. Golden gun and sword, much like Lieutenant Kondu's style, was a combat approach that fit Carrera perfectly. Her movements were so fluid and effortless that it seemed as though she had mastered this style long ago. Furthermore, Carrera was well versed in battling insectors. This familiarity allowed her to hold her ground, even in what could have been a challenging matchup. Indeed, Zess bore a striking resemblance to someone Carrera knew well. From the structure of his back to the exoskeleton covering his body. Although their fighting styles differed, the quality of his technique and the presence he commanded were reminiscent of Zijin, whom Carrera considered a rival. Zess certainly had an overwhelming presence. His existence value far exceeded Carrera's, almost tripling Zijin's. However, Carrera felt that Zijin was a greater threat. She had sparred with Zijin countless times. This experience allowed Carrera to outmaneuver Zess's tactics, despite never having faced him before. Moreover, she was no longer bound by any restrictions. Zijin's limitation, the odd rule that Diablo had implemented about not targeting any parts made from Rimuru's cells, didn't apply to Zess. This freedom enabled Carrera to fight at full strength. At the beginning of the battle, Peliod had been a significant obstacle. However, Esprit and her team worked tirelessly to eliminate her. They were doing their utmost against a superior foe.
Well, since my friends are giving it their all, I can't afford to show any weakness.
Carrera was thoroughly enjoying the deadly dance with Zess, channeling her boiling emotions into the fight. Her blade found openings in Zess's armor, cutting through his body tissue. In tandem, bullets fired at close range pierced Zess's compound eyes amidst her fluid swordplay. The battle was slowly tipping in Carrera's favor.
This is thrilling.
You devilish brat.
You're strong, I'll give you that, but you're not on Zijin's level.
What?
Zijin is the only one I consider my equal, but our battles have never been like this. We fought for days on end, and I've never managed to land even a single scratch on him.
That was the truth. Even with the strange restrictions in place, Zijin's power was unparalleled. Zess was indeed powerful, but Carrera had managed to hit him several times. Carrera was confident that as the fight wore on, victory would be hers.
What now?
In other words, you're not as strong as him.
Ridiculous. If that's the case, let me show you what it means to get serious.
Carrera's words struck a nerve in Zess, wounding his pride deeply. Fueled by his anger, Zess focused his lethal intent on Carrera. His mere gaze could kill anyone below an A rank. In fact, even a powerful Majin might crumble under the sheer intensity of his aura. Yet, Carrera seemed unfazed, brushing off the threat. In response, she amplified her mana, honing her haki, and unleashed it against Zess. Their opposing forces clashed, creating a massive vortex in the middle of the battlefield. Anyone caught in this vortex was swallowed by the overwhelming mana, their life force drained away completely. Milam's forces, aware of the impending danger, kept their distance from Carrera. However, the swarm of insectors that had crowded the battlefield was significantly reduced by the vortex's destructive force. Zess advanced, and Carrera met him head-on. Zess's fist struck Carrera's cheek, while Carrera's sword sliced into a gap in his exoskeleton. He then delivered a kick powerful enough to kill even a greater Majin with a single strike. Carrera, undeterred, moved closer and fired her golden gun at point-blank range. The bullet pierced through Zess's armor, creating a hole. But just as quickly, Zess's kick descended towards Carrera's head like a hammer from the sky. Carrera narrowly avoided the fatal blow, but her shoulder wasn't spared. Carrera's left shoulder was shattered, yet she wore a smirk. She was frustrated at being injured when she had hoped to defeat Zess without taking damage, but she didn't doubt her ultimate victory. After hours of fighting, Carrera had learned to anticipate Zess's moves. However, his strength was undeniable, and a single mistake could lead to her downfall. She needed to chip away at his defenses gradually to secure her win. Carrera glared at Zess with a commanding presence. Her uniform was torn at the shoulder, revealing her flawless white skin. But the bleeding had already stopped, and her injury was completely healed as though it never happened. The same was true for Zess, whose wounds inflicted by Carrera were now healed. For beings like Carrera and Zess, non-lethal damage meant little. What mattered was how well they could deplete their opponent's energy, with any lapse in defense potentially turning the tide. Carrera's initial attack had been massive, abyss annihilation, and her overall energy was less than Zess's. She knew she had to proceed with caution from this point onward.
Haha, I see through Zessa's abilities. He's strong, but I'm the one destined to win.
Carrera decided there was no need to push herself further. She was confident in her victory, but suddenly, she sensed a change in the atmosphere of the battlefield.
What is this sensation? I trusted Milim-sama to watch over things, but...
With Milim-sama standing guard, Carrera had felt free to unleash her full power. That's why she hadn't noticed the shift until now. No, there was more to it. The primary reason was that Zess's strength had demanded her full attention, leaving little room to monitor her surroundings. And, in truth, this was precisely what Zess had intended.
Ha 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 ha! So you have realized you're strong, no doubt. I will concede that, but we're the ones who will emerge victorious. This isn't just a duel, it's war.
What?
Carrera's expression darkened in irritation. Ignoring her reaction, Zess raised his right hand and pointed in a specific direction.
Look!
Carrera didn't turn but instead used her magic perception to assess the situation. In that moment, she grasped the meaning behind Zess's words. Right before Gobta's eyes, Peliod underwent a stunning transformation. She had always been strikingly beautiful, but now, Peliod had evolved into a kind of ethereal beauty that was undeniable to anyone who saw her. No, it wasn't just a transformation, it was a complete evolution. The battle scars that had marred Peliod's form split wide open, revealing a stunning woman with flawless skin beneath.
A pleasure to meet you. I am Peliod, the queen who commands the insects.
Even her voice had become more refined. It was clear she was no longer the same adversary they had been fighting, she had transcended into something supernatural. And it made sense. This Peliod was the true ruler of the insectors, the queen who commanded the insect generals. With her true self now revealed, Gopta's hope for victory was effectively crushed.
Come on, this has to be a joke.
Gopta muttered, unable to hide his despair.
This isn't just about her getting stronger. We're beyond the point of trying to overpower her.
So, what's the plan now?
Gopta asked, uncertainty in his voice. Ranga hesitated for a moment before speaking, as if he'd made a tough decision.
We have no choice but to retreat. Gopta, you sense the danger she poses, don't you?
Gopta was taken aback by how blunt Ranga was.
I mean, yeah, I get it. But running away on our own, that doesn't sit right with me.
Gopta knew Ranga was right. If they were still facing the previous version of Peliod, there might have been a slim chance of victory with the right strategy. But now, any hope of winning had vanished. The presence of this new Peliod was overwhelming, far surpassing the power of any insect general. In fact, she was even more formidable than Zes, the leader of the insect generals who Carrera was battling. Ranga and Gopta had correctly sensed the shift. Even if they tried to fight, defeat was inevitable. Yet, the thought of fleeing while leaving their comrades behind didn't sit well with them.
A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Jared Bressler, Havox, Speed Saber, Curtis Loban, Judah Herrera, Just a Guy, Miss LW Hernandez, Jason Martin, Zach Rosen, Jerry Sladek, Ray Perez, Jay, Donald Williams, Moab A, Day of Light, John M, Godman Gaming, Markithian Tidwell, Adrian, Kumo, Sanketh Chelu, T. Bush, JV, Thomas, Christ, Joshua Cousins, Jose Hernandez, Khalid, Christian Deshazer, Divine C. Harris, Montyboy98, Ruben, Yuki Iki, Gray, Kemal Ebanks, Isaac, Koala King 93, Quilly Buckner, Alver, Normal Defate, Vicente Baharias, Joshua Andrade, L, Gary Miles, Dragon Spawn 666, J. Rule, Leiron Sangkap, Lucas Guet, Jason Martin, Ekotski, Sky T, Diego Ginoza, Andre Hamilton, Martin Ramos, Guy Ensley, Simon Rode, Emperor WSA, Miko Espinosa, George Hage, Pratik Bandari, Jackson Early, Smexy, Carl Stephen Bernadel, Gareth Hashimoto, Steven Madison, Vasto Lord, Marl Barsha, Ralph Ignacio, Efrain Hernandez, William Locke, Kamal Luke, Spencer Candila, Ian Sikibiol, Thanacorn Lee Sawat, KACP9R, The Harv, Drayden Yamauchi, Alex Buthanu, Nathaniel Johnson, Michael Brinkley, Elijah Pierre, Michael Stern. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.